Hello, and welcome to another live chapter reading of Face the Fire, Book 5 of the Moore Family Saga by Michele Sims, as presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Miles Ari Moore, CEO of Ari Music, understood that in the City of Angels, it was business before pleasure. Work hard, play harder. That was his motto. He and his wife, Bella, were out on the town looking forward to having some fun. I didn't realize how much I needed this night. Bella leaned across the driver's seat and placed a kiss on her husband's cheek. Waiting for the stoplight to change, he interlaced their fingers and raised her hand to his lips, caressing it with warm kisses. You deserve some time to relax. It has been a while since it was just the two of us. Miles' chest warmed as he gazed into her soft brown eyes. Hard to believe that last year we were a young, recently married couple, and now we're the parents of two beautiful babies. A true labor of love, her smile lit up the night. Their infants, Ashe and Ariana, turned 6 weeks old yesterday. Tonight, it's about you, babe. Slowing down at the intersection, he made a left turn, heading toward downtown LA. How's your dinner? Fantastic. She reached for the radio to turn down the volume. How did you get a reservation? I heard that place was booked for months. It was, but I knew people. He winked, then reached over to her thigh. Nothing but the best for you. Gently stroking her smooth skin, he took in a deep breath and smiled as his body heated with desire. Are you sure you want to go to the club? His fingers inched beneath her skirt, causing her to look down. Just checking things out. Nodding, she placed her hand on top of his. All the parts are present and accounted for. My doctor gave me the green light, she winked. I'm ready for action. All types of action? He wagged his eyebrows. Our sex drought while you were on bed rest and after having the twins was brutal. The drought is definitely over, she smiled. I'll reward your patience later, but for now, Mama wants some time on the dance floor. Turning away, she glanced at the traffic through the passenger side mirror. Keep your eyes on the road. It's busy out here tonight. We have a lot to celebrate, and I want to get there in one piece. She shimmied her shoulders. While on our club crawl, we can check out Little Pharaoh's show. Lil Pharaoh, was one of the first artists signed to their record company, Ari Music. A music phenomenon he had come to Miles' attention as a young teen. Unlike other record companies, Miles had given Pharaoh's mother, Elizabeth Little, his personal reassurance that he would protect him from predators and vultures that often found their way into the circles of young stars. We were able to book him at one of the premier clubs downtown at the last minute. Miles gripped the steering wheel. I want to see how he handles a different crowd, and I could use your help marketing him. He has been more than I bargained for, he sighed. Lately, it's one problem after another. I'm also not amused that he's crushing on you. With a quick glance at the rear view and side mirror, he moved into the fast lane. He's young and still trying to find his way in business, she shrugged. You realize Pharaoh is a natural flirt who plays around with everyone. I hope you're right about him. His acting out is beginning to concern me. He took in a deep breath. After we check out the clubs, we can get back to honoring you, my gorgeous wife, who has blessed me with two of the most amazing babies on the planet. Placing a hand above his on the stick shift, she rubbed her thumb across his knuckles. I'm biased, but I agree. She looked ahead at the traffic. We'll find out how amazing they are after their next checkup. It's clear that both of them have your medical condition, but they're still investigating the effect of the condition on their development. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed her lips tightening and shoulders slumping against the leather seat. If you think it's hard hearing about it, try living with it. Miles peered at the rearview mirror. Miles had an extended stay as a child at the National Institute of Health in Maryland to investigate a high fever that placed him in a coma. The medical team and research consultants discovered that as a result of a genetic condition, he was able to create fireballs, withstand high heat without burning his skin, and tolerate higher than normal smoke inhalation without damage to his lungs. Don't worry. His mouth felt like dry cotton as he squared his shoulders with an air of confidence. We'll handle it together. I'm not worried, and sorry for airing my thoughts. Resting her head on his shoulders, she rubbed his chest. You've gone to great lengths to make this a pleasurable night. We haven't done a club crawl in over a year. It should be fun. Traffic slowed to a stop. The 6 lanes clogged with cars resembled a small parking lot. Minutes ticked by before they started moving again. Miles looked around as fire truck sirens blared, but he didn't see any coming toward him. Accelerating to beat the light-changing red as they came off the freeway, he abruptly put on the brakes to avoid hitting the car that stopped in front of him. Miles! Bella lurched forward, but she was pushed backward by the quick reflex of his arm extended across her torso. Clenching his jaw, he calmed the adrenaline surge coursing through his body. What is this clown doing in front of me? With a tightened grip on the steering wheel, he swiveled his head, looking around to get out of the way of any emergency vehicles that may be heading their way. The harsh sounds of sirens were getting louder. Sounds like a 2-alarm fire. He peered at the sky, which was blanketed by thick black smoke. Why do you think that? Repositioning herself, she leaned forward for a better view. Listen, he paused. The alarms sound different. Turning on a side street out of the flow of traffic, he activated the custom emergency radio scanner and GPS. It sounds like multiple alarms. Bella inclined her ear toward the window. Exactly. This fire's too much for one fire hose resource to handle, so when other groups are called in, the alarm count increases. A 2-alarm or multiple alarm fire, we can try to detour around the traffic or wait it out. Detour. They looked at each other, answering in unison. The Santa Ana winds are high tonight, and the smoke is getting worse. I hope it doesn't fan a wildfire. He kept his eyes on the road while Bella pulled out her phone and texted a message. I hope they're able to get the fire under control quickly. Bella bit her lip, toying with a strand of her long brown hair. The babies are still asleep, she smiled. Our sitter returned my message promptly. She said they were having a peaceful night. She came highly recommended. Miles patted her hand. Puckering his lips, he blew her a kiss. I knew that was the only way I would get you out of the house. Bella knitted her brow, returning her attention to her phone. She scrolled through the posts on social media, popping up at a frenzied pace. Her jaw slackened as minutes went by. I don't believe this. What are you looking at? Her silence concerned him. Is there something going on at the house? She shook her head, not breaking her gaze on the screen. This isn't going as I'd planned, he frowned. What then? Before she could answer, his phone, attached to Bluetooth, began ringing. Hello? He answered quickly. His tone was sharp. Miles, we've got a problem. A tense voice, placed on speaker, filled the car. It was Bradley Marshall, the head of security and staff for RE Music. Bradley was also affiliated with the network, an international clandestine organization of former military men, captains of industry, and government officials. A group largely known except to a select few on the planet. They had a long reach and access to intelligence most countries would kill, to have. Miles had come to their attention as a result of his genetic condition. His father, Caden Moore, and his uncle, Vincent Moore, had also been affiliated with the network before he was born. I know you and Bella are downtown. He sounded short of breath, as if he was running. I'm at the estate and leaving right now. They heard the sound of a car's engine starting. What the hell is going on? Miles pulled out to traffic and onto a side street. He parked at the curb. It's Pharaoh, again. Bradley paused, and Bella covered her ears. The high-pitched sound of wheels screeching was annoying. I got a call from a contact at the police station. They're on their way after receiving a report of a riot from an unruly crowd at the club. It seems an alert on social media summoned Lil Pharaoh's fans to come to the club before he arrived. When they weren't allowed in the venue, fights broke out. Someone set a fire in the parking lot, and embers from that fire traveled to businesses nearby. Several fires are now blazing out of control. Has he lost his mind? Miles fumed as Bella showed him the thread of messages from his followers, responding that they were on their way. The club can hold maybe 500 people. Exactly, Bradley agreed. It was already filled to capacity, according to my sources, before Pharaoh's crew sent out the message. Several squad cars were summoned after they got calls about drugs, underage drinking, noise nuisance, and then the fight. They arrested several people, including a few members of the crew, as they tried to leave. Pharaoh was scheduled to arrive, but he must have gotten wind of all the trouble. He's in lockdown in one of the company's apartments he's been using downtown. The police officers are waiting for a search warrant before forcing an entry. I spoke to Pharaoh. He confirmed he was partying before his set tonight. There are drugs and guns at the place, but they belong to his friends. Yeah, right. Did anyone get hurt? Miles' chest was tight and his mouth dry. This is a PR nightmare. Bella closed her eyes briefly and nodded. The preliminary report was that no one was hurt other than a few scratches. The police want to talk to Pharaoh, but he's refusing to come out. He was scared, Miles. I think he realized he was in over his head. I have one of our lawyers on the way there, and I'm also heading there now. I just wanted you to know what's going on so you can decide how you want to spin this in the morning. We have a couple of holdings downtown. Is it the one in the old bank district? Yes, but I don't think you need to get involved. Our business is a family business, and I need to be there, he asserted, and Bella agreed. Grateful she understood his decision, he squeezed her knee. Bradley, I need to see for myself what trouble Pharaoh has gotten himself into. Okay, I'll meet you there. Chapter 2. When Miles and Bella arrived, the apartment was surrounded by patrol cars, sirens, and flashing blue lights bouncing off the cars and buildings. It was a scene of controlled chaos. Looking out the window at the situation playing out before him, he still hadn't decided what to do. He hoped his adrenaline, instincts for decisive action, and the criminal lawyers he kept on retainer would help guide him in his decisions. Let's wait for Bradley, Bella suggested. Miles turned off the engine and parked the car. He had his hand on the handle. I'll call Bradley on my way to the door. If you're going, I'm going with you, she insisted. Miles shook his head. He wasn't aware Bradley was approaching from the rear of the vehicle until he pulled open the door and got into the back seat. Hi, Bradley, as he said as he leaned forward. A few of my friends on the force are here. They're willing to let you into the house if you consent to a pat-down and pocket search before and after leaving. You have to agree not to take anything in or out of the place. I'll try to buy you some time before they come in with a search warrant. I've been on the phone with Pharaoh, and he wants to talk to you. He's calm, and he's not a danger to you or himself. Are you okay with the terms, or do you want to wait here and talk to him on the phone? I'm comfortable he's handling this with advice from our lawyers. It's your call. He turned to Bella while Miles contemplated options. One of our drivers will take you home. That's a good idea. Bella, I'll feel better if one of us is home with the children. I'll go home if you promise to keep in touch. She placed a hand on his arm. Of course. He placed a hand on top of hers before turning his attention to Bradley. I want to see him. Miles opened the door and started taking off his coat and emptying his pockets of everything but his phone. Tell the police I'll comply with the terms. I'm going in. Bradley ran ahead of him to let them know he was willing to be searched. After a brief frisk, they allowed him to keep his phone. Miles knocked on the door. Pharaoh, it's Miles. I'm coming in alone, he yelled. He heard the cylinders on the lock of the door turning before Pharaoh yelled back, fine. Miles entered and closed the door behind him. Pharaoh stood in the center of the room with his mouth drawn, tired from the ordeal. The apartment had been trashed by the partygoers. Alcohol bottles and food containers littered the floors of every surface of the main room. I don't know what happened, Miles. Things got out of control. Pharaoh looked at him with his hands planted on both sides of his head. I didn't know most of the people. They just kept coming in. I was getting laid in the bedroom when I opened the door and saw the mob. I never made it to the club. Miles walked around, looking at the mess with his hands on his hips. Is it true that guns and drugs are still in here? Because if that's true, we've got trouble. Pharaoh nodded and opened a drawer on the TV console, which still contained the drugs and several guns. Miles looked inside the drawer and closed his eyes tightly, as if willing its contents to disappear. These aren't mine, Miles. So who do they belong to? Pharaoh said nothing, but maintained eye contact. Miles lunged at Pharaoh and grabbed him by his shirt, nostrils flaring. I warned you, Pharaoh. I warned you, and now you're acting like you can't answer a few questions? Realized he was making things worse, he loosened his grip on Pharaoh's shirt. His phone began ringing in his pocket. As he stepped away, Pharaoh tightened his fist at his side. They both knew things were spiraling out of control. Miles looked at Bella's smiling face on the phone display before answering. I'm okay, baby, he told her. I'm here with Pharaoh. Yes, he's unharmed. He looked at Pharaoh and handed him the phone. She wants to talk to you. Pharaoh accepted Miles' phone and placed it to his ear. This is Pharaoh. I'm listening. Yeah, I hear you. Bella, I know you care about me. Okay, bye. He handed the phone back to Miles. Miles put the phone back in his ear, but Pharaoh had ended the call. What did she say to you? She told me to do my part to put aside our differences and that you're here to help me. Miles paced as he thought about how to handle the situation. I need you to lock yourself in the bathroom. Don't come out until I tell you. What? Why? And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the chapter reading. Have a good night.